Good morning, everyone. This is Man Coverage and the Safety and the Sports Writers crossover special. It is April 27th, 2025. We are talking NFL draft today, college football, all of the above. I hope everybody is doing well and rested post-Easter Sunday. Gentlemen, we got James P. Bonneville and Big Joe joining us today. How are you doing, fellas?
Doing real good. Very interesting weekend.
Jeez.
I've never heard of anything like this in my life. And, I watch the draft every year. We see, somebody falls every year. Guys get drafted sooner than we expect every year. There's always some surprises, but I've never in my life seen anything like this. And we might as well just start there and address the elephant in the room so we can get it out of the way and then maybe talk about real football. But this all started, Joe, 2 years ago when Colorado Buffaloes beat TCU. And all of a sudden, they were the greatest team in the history of college football. Deion was going to win a national championship in his first year, and the media circus began. And you were the first one, I was with you, but you were the first one that said, pump your brakes. What are we talking about here? And we were both kind of blown away to the kind of the hoopla surrounding this fictional, team that didn't really exist. I mean, they played a good game there. They beat TCU, but TCU wasn't the same team that it was the year before. Everybody that was good on that team was gone. And I guess I'll ask you first, do you think that some of this was caused, back then when this media train got rolling? Is that why, this Shedeur Sanders thing got going and why everybody thought he was so good? It just kind of got ingrained in their minds because of the media? Is that what happened?
I think yes. I think, first of all, the media, you got to understand the ecosystem of the media now is not basically reporters. A lot of them, especially on ESPN, Fox News, and all these are ex-athletes who are friends of Deion's.
Yeah.
So they're going to overvalue everything he does because, first of all, they love him, and secondly, because they don't want to be isolated out from him. And the fact of the matter is, they made that into such a big deal. And like you said, TCU had just come off their run towards the national championship, lost all their players. You saw how flawed they were in the championship game the year before. And all of a sudden he ate up on that. But then soon into that season, they go on a 9-game losing streak.
Yeah.
And no one ever covered that. No one ever sat there and said, hey, maybe we were wrong. Maybe we blew this out of proportion. You beat up on TCU and Colorado State, and all of a sudden you're Nick Saban? No, you're not. Look, Deion has done a lot of good things in Colorado. He's brought, relevance back to that program on a certain level. But on another level, they're not with the big boys yet. I mean, you guys know college football better than me. And there's nowhere would you put Colorado in the top 35 right now. What would you call them?
No.
Yeah, I don't know anywhere near that. But as Joe gets a good point, because no one mentioned the 7-game losing streak and the 1-8 finish in the conference. James, me and you both. I mean, if you take our show from the week before the draft and you replay it, the thing you will hear over and over again is me and you not liking the quarterback class at all. And really not liking the two guys that I say everybody, and what I mean by that is all the morons in the media that think they know what they're talking about. The two guys they put at the top. I liked Cam Ward better than Shedeur, but I'm not really in love with him either, and we'll get to him in a second.
Agreed.
But we both said that we didn't really love either one of those guys. I wasn't really shocked that Shedeur fell like he did. Were you shocked? I mean, I wasn't shocked at all. I especially after the whole deal where he didn't throw at the combine, the pro day, he chose to do what he wanted. And, then the interviews, he went in and told all the teams that he was the greatest quarterback of all time and that the light was going to shine wherever he went. And, after hearing all that, I didn't think anybody was going to take him near the top of the draft. How shocked were you, I guess, at the fall down to where he actually went? And where did you think he was going to go, I guess, before the draft? I mean, easy to say now, but seriously, where did you think he was going to go?
Honestly, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum. I mean, and you look at the previous year's draft in 2024, where you saw a lot of teams trading up higher because they knew this draft was going to be worse. I mean, I'm sorry, JJ McCarthy is just, I don't believe he's that good of a quarterback, and he got overdrafted because of the weakness, like the lack of depth in this draft class. And now you look at this. I mean, because there's nobody in this class that blew me away. I mean, there's a lot of good storylines, but I mean, compared to what we thought it was going to be 3 years ago, it's a shell of itself today. At the end of the day, though, honestly, I thought that Shedeur Sanders was going to get drafted in the first round, even if it's at the end, strictly because of the 5 years you get on his contract. You got 5 years of development time that you're going to have. And when you get to the second, third round, it's 4 years, and you get the third day, it's 3 years. And honestly, I thought after the first day, I'm like, all right, he's going to get picked in the first 10 picks of the second round, kind of like Will Levis did last year. And what do you know? He slips again. And he slips again. And it was like, there was a part of me, a friend of mine called me up and he's like, I got a feeling he's not going to get drafted, period. And I'm like, honestly, I started to believe it because it was like, I mean, all of a sudden, all these rumors, everybody doesn't want to get caught being the guy who actually does it. It's like it almost becomes a self-fulfilled prophecy. But then the more I started thinking about it last night, I'm like, I'm thinking from Cleveland's perspective, I'm like, stop looking at these players as if they are people and think of them as investments. And let's say Shedeur Sanders was the second pick in the draft. His guaranteed, he was probably going to be looking somewhere between 30 and 40 million in guaranteed money. Where in the fifth round, he's going to make about 300,000 guaranteed. Yeah, is that going to be a shock to him personally? Absolutely. Who would it not be? But from a strictly investment standpoint, isn't the whole goal to buy low and sell high? And right now, what does Cleveland lose in this situation? I mean, you're investing 300,000 a guy over a 3-year deal on a team since 1999, who's their longest starting quarterback as number of starts is Baker Mayfield at 59 and then Tim Couch at 48. They've had 40 starting quarterbacks in the last 25 years. I mean, that is insane.
And now they're going to have 45 because now they've got 5 others. And I don't think it's a terrible investment financially. That's not my point. My point is, now you're going to be asking questions. And Joe, I want to get your thoughts on this. Now you're going to be asking questions about a 5th round pick. Now you're having press conferences about a 5th round pick. That's why I think a lot of the other teams stayed away. They didn't want the hoopla. They didn't want to be dealing with the circus of whether or not, this guy should be the starter. I mean, whoever starts the first game, whether it's, Dylan Gabriel, whether it's Joe Flacco, whether it's whoever, they're going to be like, well, when's Shedeur going to play? When he threw an interception in the first quarter, why isn't Shedeur going in? That's all that's going to be talked about. And so, Joe, do you think a lot of teams stayed away just because they didn't want to deal with not only the circus that follows him, but also the media coverage that's going to be there, asking questions about a 5th rounder?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure if you could get an honest moment with any of you guys, they did. But I think the big thing, and I read an article this morning, and as was reading it, it's totally true. It's another Jimmy Haslam debacle. Okay, first of all, you go out and you bring in Flacco, your veteran guy from a couple of years ago, who's a hero. You bring in Kenny Pickett as your possible, maybe,
who you traded for.
See something that you saw, that you see in him. Maybe, Kevin Stefanski can be his quarterback whisperer and get him back on the right trail. Then you go out and get Dylan Gabriel, who you chose. You could have gotten Sanders there.
Yeah.
But instead, you get Dylan Gabriel. And this, it was great because I saw tape on when it was announced, and you see the picture on Barry and Stefanski's faces, and neither of them were smiling. So that came down from Jimmy Haslam going, he's there. He'll be good for my press. Grab him.
Yeah.
Even though we have no plan for him, we have no use for him. So now, if you're freaking Stefanski and you've been sitting there over the offseason putting together for next year, and you're going, okay, I got Flacco. He's probably going to be my number one. Pickett will be my number two unless he does a really good job in the summer. Maybe he'll be number one. Then he must have liked Dylan Gilbert a lot better than Sanders because he drafted him. And now you're sitting there going, now I got a circus. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Cleveland.
And what is the plan? That's my question is, what is the plan? It's like, oh, we're just going to throw all these guys at the wall and see what sticks. If you were going to get Joe Flacco, you should have got Joe Flacco 2 years ago when he took you to the playoffs. And then after the season, you knew that Deshaun Watson was washed and was never going to be the guy that you thought he was going to be. So why didn't you keep Joe Flacco then? Bringing him in now is ridiculous. He's 72 years old and, looked horrible last year for the Colts. Let's just be honest. Kenny Pickett's not good. We know that. And now you've got 4'8" Dylan Gabriel and a media circus guy that you took in the 5th round. So there is no plan. I think this is pretty stupid what they're doing there. And I mean, if I'm Myles Garrett, I'm like, what am I doing? Why did I sign this contract? Now, we're not only are we going to suck, but I'm going to get asked about this 5th rounder who's not even playing every day. So it makes no sense to me. And James, I guess the other question I've got for you is, I feel bad for Shedeur about, some of the things that were said about him and some of the people that just hate him for no reason. I don't hate I don't hate the guy at all. I don't have a problem with him. I just didn't think he was that good. That's my issue. I mean, when you look at it, really, this isn't about Shedeur. This is about this year's quarterbacks. None of the quarterbacks got picked, okay? Cam Ward went number 1, and then nobody got picked till Tyler Shuck, who I'm still trying to scratch my head, trying to figure out why he went. But then, there was another lull. I mean, there just was no good quarterbacks this year. And, so I guess this is more an indictment, I think, of the crop than just Shedeur himself, right?
Can I ask you guys a question? Because, like I said, you guys watch more college football than almost any two people I know. And this is one thing I'm thinking about, the Bo Nix thing that happened last year. Bo Nix probably started more college games than any college quarterback in the history. So when he gets to the pros, he's played for a couple of different places, a couple of different coaches. They have a real scouting report on him. I think a lot of times now, these guys that have only started like 20 games or like a Trubisky who started 12 games, they're learning you don't get to see all their warts unless you see them in 30 or 40 starts. You think maybe the NFL scouts are looking at that and saying, no, I want a guy who's been around for a while. Even now with the NIL, where they'll stay later or longer, I could see more of their tape. What do you think about that?
Well, you bring something good up because Bill Parcells had this formula on quarterbacks when he was a coach. And it actually kind of worked where you had to start, 3 years and win so many games. And if you fell into that like classification, then he wanted you. And you look at guys like Dak Prescott, he kind of fit that mold. Phil Simms when he was at Morehead State, Jeff Hostetler. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the more data points you have, the better off you are. I keep coming back to the same thing is Shedeur Sanders' dad was not Deion Sanders, who was his college coach, who was his high school coach, who was his youth coach. And he was just Shedeur Smith or Shedeur Johnson. Would he have been drafted in the 5th round? Because you can't tell me for a second that there aren't coaches and GMs that are wondering, saying, if things go sideways, are we going to get pressured to make Deion Sanders our next head coach of our organization? And how do we handle that locker room? I mean, honestly, I look more at, I'm like, I think Shedeur was a product of the situation and people are blaming him. And I think there's a bigger key at play here. I mean, I think some people's names are overvaluing the talent itself. I mean, heck, if we want to say it, what about Arch Manning? we have what 2-game sample size of him, and everybody is already proclaiming him as the first pick in the draft because his
Right.
last name is Manning. I
Yeah,
mean, we don't know.
we'll see what he does. I
Well,
don't know about that, but I think that for sure, you want to see a good sample size. I mean, we've seen success, especially early, by guys that have had more playing time in college. There's no doubt about that. But there's still guys that are going to take projects. There's still teams that are going to go and get based on ceiling. I mean, we've seen that with Anthony Richardson. We've seen that with a number of guys in the last few years where, they're still will go get them and give them a shot if they've got the ceiling. But, look at the number 1 pick overall, Cam Ward. I mean, he played a long time in college for several different teams. And so, Joe, to your point, I think that, some of the teams are reading into that. And they're taking guys who have shown, they got miles of tape on them.
right.
And, Cam Ward isn't going to come out and not know, how to throw all the route tree. He's going to know what coverages teams are in. This guy's played quarterback for 9 years in college. And so I guess, Joe, I'll ask you first, because I haven't really got your opinion on this. What do you think of him overall? Do you think he can, succeed in Tennessee? And do you think it was the right move to stay at number 1 and take him?
Wow, a lot there. I gotta be honest with you guys. I only saw a few games of Cam Ward, even though he was been around forever. I was not a Miami fan, so I didn't really tune into him a lot. He seems to answer, and like we just spoke about, you've seen him in many different situations, especially the fact that Miami wasn't the powerhouse they were back in the Vinny Testaverde, those days when they were ahead by 40 points and you never knew if the guy could come from behind or what. He's had to bring his team from behind. He's shown a lot of those are the kind of things I look at. And that's why I used to favor always going for someone from a smaller college, a quarterback from a college that maybe wasn't a powerhouse, but they won because of him, a la Roethlisberger, a la Eli, a la Rivers in that particular draft, because those teams are only going to be as good as they were. So Cam Ward, he gets that with me. The only thing is, I don't know if I believe in the head coach. And throwing a good quarterback to a bad head coach has always been a bad situation.
Yeah.
And that's what I look at.
Yeah. No, I don't like Brian Callahan at all. I think it was a terrible choice. Selection as the head coach in Tennessee. You get rid of Mike Vrabel and you replace him with this guy that's never been a head coach in his entire life. And let's be honest, the first season was an absolute disaster. We were going Will Levis. We were going back to what's the guy's name? Mason Rudolph. It didn't really matter who was playing quarterback. It was a shit show. And I think it's going to be much of the same because I don't really love their roster and I don't love their coach. James, do you think that he can survive despite that? Because obviously when you get picked number 1, you go to the worst team in the league or, close to it. But definitely most of the time, the worst team in the league. Does he have enough talent to survive that? This guy threw for 11,000 yards. He threw for 87 touchdowns, completed over 65% of his passes over, the 3 years in major college football. James, I guess, do you think he can overcome that situation? And what do you like about him? What do you not like?
Well, I mean, honestly, I look at Tennessee's situation at quarterback, and outside of Cleveland, ever since Steve McNair left, and hell, Steve McNair died, they have never had any stability at that quarterback position at all. And people are going to say, Ryan Tannehill, congratulations, you handed off the ball to Derrick Henry or whoever the running back was, and you played bully ball. But at the same time, you look at their drafting of receivers. Cam Ward can't throw the ball to himself. I mean, yeah, they upgraded a little bit with Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett, and they got Trey Burke sitting out there. But, I mean, seriously, over the last how many years where they go in and they screw up they pick the wrong guy in the first round, they don't develop well, and then they get a receiver that's over the hill to come in. They've not had a good air attack since, I mean, hell, Steve freaking McNair. And it's not like McNair stopped playing a couple years ago. He's been gone for some time. They've been relying on their defense and their running game. And I think it's going to take time to see, can Cam Ward do it? I mean, he can't throw the ball to his goddamn self. I mean, what's he going to do? I just, it's a tough situation because, I mean, yeah, he's got talent, but I mean, I kept hearing comparisons between him and Pat Mahomes, and I'm like, holy crap.
Whoa.
I'm like,
not for me.
Wow. I'm like, man, look, the kid's already got pressure being the number one pick in the draft, and now you just leveled that on the kid. I'm like, I mean, getting back to the Shador stuff, though. I mean, the part, like, everybody keeps talking about the drama. Johnny freaking Manziel went in the first round. Johnny Manziel. And let's be honest, there was way more drama with that freaking guy than Shador.
There was, but I mean, he didn't have necessarily the entire circus around him. And Johnny Manziel, whether you love him or hate him, he was fucking good. I mean, he played in the pretty good conference. He was beating Alabama. This guy, Shador never beat Alabama, if my memory serves correct. In fact, he was 1-7 versus top 25 teams. Johnny Manziel kind of got better depending on who they were playing and how good the team they were playing in. So, yeah, he was a nutcase, but at least he had some tape to back it up. I just, I worry about that. And before we get to our winners and losers and all that, I do want to finish off the Shador thing just with obviously, the unfortunate thing that happened where these two moron, I don't know how many people are in the room, obviously 3 kids somehow got Shador's number, which I don't know if you guys read the story, but this is a phone that the NFL gave to Shador just so that only NFL teams could call him on it. So this wasn't like his personal cell phone that everybody had his digits to. This was a phone that the NFL got to give to him just for the draft. And these 2 knuckleheads get it, call him, pretend to be Mickey Loomis. First off, I can't believe he believed that was Mickey Loomis. The kid sounded like he was like 12 years old. But James, talk to me first, and Joe, I want to get your take too. They've got to find out how this kid got the number. They've got to get this kid some repercussions for him because as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Shador as a quarterback, I don't have a problem with him personally, and I didn't think that was right at all. I thought that was BS, faking drafting him and calling him in a prank call. That was utter bullshit.
Honest to God, I mean, as a father, I can't even imagine my son. I mean, your son is getting humiliated on national TV, not once, but pretty much continually for 48 hours. And I can't imagine how hard it was. And to have that on top of it was just as much shameful. I mean, my heart went out to him. I mean, yeah, there was some stuff that he did that I didn't like, but that's just me. But it was just like, even doing something like that, I mean, I feel so bad for him during going through that situation. I mean, it's just, it's disgusting. Awful.
That was disgusting. Awful. Joe, what did you think when you heard about that, and what was your reaction?
I feel sorry for Shador. I feel it was a classless move by the kids. But you know what the worst thing is it's kind of what we've rolled. ESPN has rolled it into. I mean, I'll never forget watching Thursday night, and I'm watching. Could you get to the picks already, please? God. Does it have to be this much of a production? It used to be very simple. Yeah, they would go to the draft, and it was like, and you had Chris Berman, you had 2 or 3 guys up there with them, and now it's like they've overblown it. So you got a lot of jackasses that think, "Oh, this will be cool. I'll get myself on that." And the more you open it up, the more jackasses are going to try and do something. And
we might as well just have Rosie O'Donnell up on the panel.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, they made it worse. The people that are talking about there's some conspiracy and all this crap. Those are the people that were making it worse by every single pick going, oh, maybe this is when he goes. Oh, Shador's still my number 1 on the board. Shut up. Okay. Can we talk about the guys that are actually getting drafted and this is the greatest day of their life? They didn't even mention Cam Ward for like 3 hours after the kid gets picked. I've never seen less coverage of a number 1 pick in the NFL draft in my entire life.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my personal problem with it was like, finally, as a Giant fan, I have a draft that I can kind of be proud of and sit there and go, I see a plan here now. I see something going on. I see where they're going to go with this stuff. You know, they've got their potential quarterback in the future. They got their
we're gonna talk about the Giants next. Actually, I want you to break down all of our East Coast teams since you're up there in the Connecticut, New York area. I want to get your thoughts on the Giants. I want to get your thoughts actually too on the Jets and the Pats. But yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like the Abdul Carter was just an amazing pick. How about trading up to get Travis Hunter? No one even is talking about that the Jaguars actually did something right for the first time in the history of their franchise and traded up and got a guy that might help them out on both sides of the ball. Before we go to break, I want to get thoughts on that. Travis Hunter, trading up to get him. Joe, I'll go to you first. Trading up to get him. Do you think this helps Jacksonville on both sides of the ball? And what was your thoughts hearing that they traded up to go grab him?
Confusion. I mean, the Jaguar, are they a defensive back and a wide receiver away from? I mean, they got to straighten out Trevor Lawrence, and that's the biggest thing. I understand he's an attractive commodity. Is he going to play both positions for you guys? Is he going to be impactful on both sides? I'm kind of like, I understand kind of why they did it. I just don't, but I don't understand why they did it because it's just, I don't know. To me, it's one of those things that's throwing bricks into the ocean. Right now, the biggest problem in Jacksonville is figuring out if the money they have invested in Trevor Lawrence is going to ever pan out for them. Yeah. And that's where I'd be looking with the new coach and everything else, you know, he's supposed, you know, quarterback whisperer or whatever he is, Liam Cohen. So I'm like, I'm not going to give it a thumbs up, thumbs down as much as I'm giving it a flat line.
Yeah. What about you, James? Did you like the move to go get him and bring him to Jacksonville or no?
You know, honestly, I Trevor Lawrence gets more punishment than he's worth. Because I mean, you look at that offensive line has never had any kind of stability since he's been there, and I think you really got to rebuild that team, and more importantly, I think you got to rebuild them on defense first. I like how they brought Eric Armstead in. What they did from a draft perspective, I kind of liked. I mean, now you've got. I mean, I personally would want to see Travis Hunter play one side of the ball. But you got him and Ransaw at those corner positions, and then you got Tootin in the 4th round at running back. I mean, it made me wonder in some ways, are they really truly sold on ETN as their running back? But Jack Kaiser and McLeod, I mean, this was quietly a very solid draft that really helped bolster their defense in a lot of ways. And especially in that division where there's so many defensive teams, you got to kind of up your game in that respect first before you can address. I think they got to hit their defense and offensive line and then go from there.
Yeah, well, I did like how, if you think this guy is a generational player, I mean, obviously they do. Yeah. And if you thought that this guy is the Heisman Trophy winner, he's the greatest corner or maybe two-way player, whatever. If you think that, I kind of like going up and getting him. I mean, what you've been sitting there treading water for how many years? And you even ever since, like Joe said, when you got Trevor Lawrence, that was supposed to be the answer. It hasn't been. So why not go get somebody else who you think can turn it around and do it? And I liked, you know, who gives a shit about picks next year? Who gives a shit about some of the capital that you lost? I don't care about that. If this guy helps you and makes you better, I think it's a good move. And so that's why I was actually kind of impressed that the Jaguars did something. Regardless of what it was, they actually tried to get better. We'll see whether or not it works. But this kid, you know, everybody loves him and thinks he's the greatest thing in college football this past year. And let's be honest, he did make Shedeur look pretty good at times. So that's doing something. So we'll see what happens.
For today. You got to play for today because if we looked at last year's draft, mock draft after last year's draft, Shedeur Sanders should have gone 1. Quinn Ewers should have gone 2. One went in the 5th round, one went in the 7th round.
Yeah, so, that's why staying in college, too, might not always be the best deal. But right back, we're going to be right back. We're going to talk about, obviously, we're going to go to the East Coast for a minute. We're going to get Joe's take on the Giants first and foremost. And then also we'll sprinkle some Jets and Pats. And then we're going to do our winners and losers, and some of the picks that stood out to us. So give us 30 seconds here.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Yeah, go to SeatGeek right now. Use promo code NSS. Get $20 off your next ticket purchase. In fact, Joe, why don't you get some tickets to the Giants, buddy? Because you guys have, some action now. Abdul Carter, arguably the best pick in the draft.
Dude, if I can work it out, I do have access to a friend of mine that has the big box access.
Oh shit! Call me. I'll be there. Come up, see the family.
I'll get him to take us down to the game.
I'm there. Plus, not only did they get Carter, but they got a young quarterback. If they like Dart, once again, if you like Dart, trade back up and get him. And they did. I like that move. What was your thoughts on, obviously the first two picks, and then also give me your thoughts on Cam Scatabo potentially carrying the rock?
Well, I'll tell you, I think this was easily the best draft of the Shane era. I mean, it's just he finally put it forward. Maybe the Daniel Jones situation and the Saquon Barkley situation were holding him back. Now maybe we're seeing exactly what he wanted to do. You got potentially the best defensive impact player they've had since. I hate to say it. I'm going to say Justin Tuck. I will not say Lawrence Taylor because Lawrence Taylor is above everybody. But it's probably the best defensive draft player they've gotten since Justin Tuck. I think Jackson Dart has a lot of potential. And the fact of the matter, he's going to be the third-round draft choice to start the season. I love the fact that the minute he gets drafted, Tommy Cutlets asked for a trade. I'm like, and who's going to want you?
Where are you going, Tommy? He's not going to get to play.
Here's what you do, Tommy. You open up a deli in Jersey somewhere as Tommy Cutlets Deli, and people will come in there. You wear your Giant shirt. You're set for the rest of your life. Yeah, anyways, Scatabo, I was dreaming about getting him because you put him together. Was it Tryon last year? Tracy from last year?
Yeah.
You now have a good 1-2 punch at running back that could potentially take you away from the hangover from Saquon Barkley. They couldn't make it happen with Saquon Barkley. They seem to be getting on a better page. The only thing I want them to come up with, I guess we're going to have to bet on the tight end from Penn State having, maybe being ready to make another step up there. Because as a Giant fan, when we've been good, we've always had good tight ends. Yeah. And I don't see that yet.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And James, I want to get your thoughts. Does drafting Abdul Carter number 3 overall, does that mean that they are giving up on Kayvon Thibodeau? And does that mean that they kind of think of that as not a bust, but definitely not the guy that's going to get them over the hump? What do you think about? Is this an indictment on Thibodeau?
I don't think so at all. I mean, quite frankly,
well, they're not going to play Brian Burns, Thibodeau, and Carter at the same time, are they?
Well, Carter, let's be honest. Up until this year, Carter was playing linebacker. There's things you could do from this defensive set where you could really have a lot of fun. The part that scares the hell out of me was, this campaign to unretire Lawrence Taylor's number and give it to Abdul Carter. I'm like, what the hell?
I didn't hear that.
Don't get me wrong. Honestly, I think there's real talent there. Abdul Carter, in my mind, was the number 1 player in this draft. And if you get that kind of generational talent, you go for it. And hell, if bad comes to worse and all 3 are going well, why you could possibly trade a Burns, a Thibodeau. They're obviously not going to trade Carter, but it gives you freaking options on what you want to do. I think going into camp is going to be very interesting to see how they set this up because, honestly, if I was the Giants, I'd be thinking a lot like what Brian Flores does with the Vikings and how they really blitz. And you've got 3 really incredible options right there. But honestly, beyond that, I mean, you go farther down that draft for the Giants. I mean, Jackson Dart. I mean, obviously, Darius Alexander. I mean,
Do you
really,
like him? Do you like Jackson Dart? Do you think he can develop under Russell Wilson? They got Jameis there, so Dart doesn't have to play day one. Do you think that helps him? And do you like him?
I think it helps him a lot. I think, honestly, it gives. I mean, with any rookie quarterback, honestly, I wish they would just hold a freaking clipboard the first year, because you're going from like a playbook that is maybe an inch or 2 inches thick to a playbook that's 6 inches thick, where it's a class where you're all day, every day, trying to learn a new language, new sets, new route tree, new everything, plus new players. I mean, that is a really hard thing to do. And that's why I like quarterbacks getting that, clipboard time, so they completely understand the system before they get thrown out there. Cam Scadabout. I mean, talk about a guy who more embodies Giant fans than Cam Scadabout. He is going to freaking legend there just on the way he plays. Embo, the guard out of Purdue, man, he's going to help that offensive line out a ton. Tommy Fedone was an incredibly high-rated tight end coming out of high school. He didn't produce nearly to the extent. I think he's got real talent there. I mean, this is a fantastic draft by the Giants. I mean, it's a winner.
Yeah, I like it too. And I liked, once again, if you like Dart, get him, take him, especially right now, considering you got, Russell Wilson's washed, but he's not absolutely horrible. Start the season with him. If things go south, then, you put Dart out there. But I like going and getting him. I love the pick of Abdul Carter. I think, you can, I was just asking you about Thibodeau to see what you thought about him, but really, I like it. I mean, you can never have too many pass rushers, right?
In this day and age?
No. And when the Giants were good, that's what they had, dude. They had all those guys that were just getting after the quarterback and making Tom Brady's life hell, which was so much fun to watch. I hope they can do it again, because that's when they were doing it, was when they had everybody and their brother going after the quarterback. So maybe that's what they're thinking here, and I like it. I want to talk to you too, Joe, and get your thoughts. The Jets are the Jets, so usually they botch the draft time and time again. But I did like going and getting the tackle. This kid from Missouri, Membo, he's legit. I've seen him play for years in the SEC, and I do think he's a guy that can come in and start for you right away. And then I like the tight end, Mason Taylor. They didn't really do anything flashy in this draft, Joe, and I think that might be a good thing. What do you think about the Jets taking the tackle to help out Fields and then also getting him a tight end?
I'm glad you're asking about this, because the most frustrating thing listening to Sports Talk Radio yesterday morning was Joe Beningo, who is the biggest Jet fan in the world, but he is a typical Jet fan who is down on Justin Fields before he's ever taking a freaking snap. The guy has never been given a chance. Everybody says he can't throw the ball. He's never been. We don't know what he can and can't do. No. You went out and got this kid, and he was 4-1 before he got benched last year.
Yeah.
He won in college. He seemed like a class individual. You have a young quarterback, but it's not good enough for the Jets. Beningo sitting there yesterday going, if Sanders is still on the board, I want to get Sanders. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Why? I think this is why the Jets have not been good since 1969 with Joe Namath. Joe Namath, they had one quarterback. I can go back because I lived in this area. When they had Richard Todd, they had Matt Robinson behind him. When they have this guy, they have that guy behind them. They're always looking for the next best thing instead of developing their freaking quarterback they have. I think Justin Fields, you give him a chance, give him a chance. If he fails and falls on his face and you tell me I'm wrong, great. Yep. But the kid's never been given a chance.
No, he won more games than Caleb Williams.
Chicago team, what was his record?
Yeah, 7-10. He did better than Caleb Williams, and yet he got shipped out of town. Caleb Williams gets to they fire the coach and say it wasn't Caleb's fault, and then get him more weapons.
So, James, my overall estimation, just to get back to your first question, is it was a solid draft. There's nothing really sexy in it. There's nothing that you're going to jump up and down about. You don't have somebody like Carter sitting there. You don't have a Jackson Dart like the Giants have to throw their hats on. But I think what Aaron Glenn is doing is looking and saying, I have a solid defense if I can get them back on the same page that Saleh had them on 2 years ago. So I got a solid defense. And my offensive line is rolling into shape. Let's see what we got. We went out and got Justin Fields for a reason. We have a good young running back. We have a good young wide receiver. Let's just fill in some, like getting a tight end. You fill in the blanks with that and see what you got.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but they were overrated 2 years ago when everybody thought if Aaron Rodgers comes in, Super Bowl. They weren't that good then.
No, and the old homage that Pat Kerwin, who worked for the Jets for years, always used to say is, "Hey guys, we've lost with you for over a year, so we can certainly win with other guys." And that's why get rid of some of these dudes, bring in some new guys, and start over, because the first thing they're gonna have to do is change the culture. And the first thing you want to do too, if you're trying to get a young quarterback going, is get an offensive line. Let's stay up in the East Coast. One more team here. I think the first thing that the Patriots did that was a benefit to them was getting the coach. They screwed Gerard Mayo. There's no doubt about that. They effed him 5 ways from Sunday. But let's forget about that for a moment and just say they do have a damn good coach right now. They got Mike Vrabel. He's legit. And now they went out and got Will Campbell, who, James, I'll ask you first. Was he the best offensive tackle in this draft, in your opinion? And what did you think about getting Henderson and some of the other guys that the Patriots did?
I honestly, was he a showstopper? No, but was he the best on the board? Yeah. I mean, this was a deep offensive line draft, and you got to kind of put him on top. But is there this big gap between 1 and 2? No. I mean, there's a lot of guys that there's some fleas on them, but honestly, I thought it was a good pick, because really it's just, you look at the Patriots right now and it's a complete rebuild job. And you bring him in, you got Garrett Bradbury, you got from Minnesota, who I still believe there's some potential there, but you got a lot to do to rebuild that team overall. And I think this draft was really good. I mean, Travion Henderson, I'm interested to see how they set up that offense. I mean, are they going to want him to be kind of like Stevenson was last year? Because there's a possibility that can work. I mean, it just provided more depth as a whole. I mean, honestly, I look at that Swinson kid out of LSU at the edge. I think really could help out too. I think it's a really great pick in the 5th round.
Yeah, I like that value. Joe, let me get your, besides the Giants, obviously you liked what they did. I did too. But what other team stuck out to you? What team do you think won this draft as far as getting what they needed, or just got a player that really stuck out to you? Who was your winner?
Oh, God, that's so hard to say. I mean, a lot of them did some good jobs. I mean, I think the Seahawks had a pretty good draft. Although I don't like North Dakota State to start with. I think they were okay. I mean, there's nobody that really. I thought this was one of the more mellow drafts. I mean, there weren't a lot of players that I was looking to sit there and say where they are going to end up, because they're just not it's like I said, it's not a great draft. But
yeah, no, I like that you said the Seahawks though, because they did go out and got a need at guard. Maybe not the sexiest pick in the world, but a guy who did go down to the Senior Bowl and proved that he can play with these kids. He can play multiple positions. I liked him at North Dakota State, especially in the games we saw where he played against some bigger teams. I liked what I saw out of him. And then I liked the safety out of South Carolina. And then they did went and got Milroe. So Milroe, some people love him, some people hate him, whatever. The thing you cannot say about Milroe is that he definitely does have talent. There is talent there. Whether you can harness it, I don't know. But I think you had to get a quarterback, right, Joe, to offset
to back up
Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can't bet your whole freaking future on Sam Darnold. No, there's no way. You had to get somebody in there, and Milroe is probably as good a guy to bring in as he can. He comes from a winning program.
Big games.
Yeah, he's been in big games. You know what he can do. So that was a good pickup.
I like him.
It was a really good pickup. The thing that, you when you try and look about in grading these drafts is like, it's some of the teams that you go through the grades that are given to them, and you look at the teams that are graded at the bottom, and you go, okay, let me see who on this one. The Steelers had a weird draft. I don't know what are the Steelers betting on? I mean, are they betting on you got Will Howard late, but if is he your safety valve for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing at quarterback, honestly. I mean, you've got Skylar Thompson, you got Mason Rudolph, and now you've got Will Howard. You better get Aaron Rodgers, because if you don't, I think they're screwed. James, who was your winner? What team or teams do you think really hit it? Obviously, we're not going to know for 3-4 years, but just gut reaction right away. Which teams did you love?
Honestly, I liked what I saw out of the Colts. I think getting Tyler Warren at 14. I mean, once again, the Bears. I mean, Clay Matthews started off the draft, and the Bears still suck. Yeah. I mean, literally, thanks for saying, what's tomorrow going to bring? The sun's rise in the east and sets in the west.
How can you take the Michigan guy over Tyler Warren after that season? Tell me that.
I don't know. I mean, Colston Loveland is good, but is he even a first-round draft pick? I mean, he's a really good blocking tight end, and you have a generational. Like, we're talking in the last 30 years.
Gronkowski.
I mean, he was unbelievable.
Tyler Warren. You look at just pure excitement going into the draft. Tyler Warren, Brock Bowers, Tony Gonzalez. Those are the three guys. I mean, if you take after their talent, but yeah, Gronkowski. Perfect example. Warren, you can line him up in the slot. You can line him up at running back. You can line him up anywhere.
He plays quarterback
sometimes.
I mean, JTT in the second pick. I mean, he keeps that engine rolling full time. He could be freaking Dwight Freeney in Indianapolis. Justin Whaley, a really good cover corner. I got to see him a lot at Minnesota. Legit. DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. Very good. And then Hunter Wohlers in the 7th round as a safety, I think he was very underrated at Wisconsin. I mean, this is a fantastic draft. And I see Sports Illustrated gave him a B rating. And I'm like, wow, the only draft pick I didn't understand was Riley Leonard in the 6th round. I'm like, wow. So what, you don't want to go downfield at all? I mean, third down, you're just hoping for third and short all the time.
Maybe they're going to put him in on goal line and just have him run the option or some shit. I don't know. But I'm glad you mentioned the Colts, because they were on my list. I loved the Tyler Warren pick. I couldn't believe that he wasn't the first tight end. You see what Brock Bowers did last year on a horrible team out in Las Vegas. And you're like, okay, this tight end shit is real. We got to get the best one. And you go out and get this kid that, didn't even have that many receptions last year. I mean, obviously I hate Michigan, but I don't have anything against that kid. I'm just saying, obviously I hate Penn State too, but this guy is for real. He changed Penn State's offense by himself. I mean, that's the reason they went as far as they did was Tyler Warren. And I just loved getting him, and then also coming back and getting JTT. You've got two major positions that are taken care of. And Joe, I want to get your thoughts. Daniel Jones, you saw him up close and personal for how many years? Do you think he can be the next guy that resurrects his career in Indianapolis? Because I believe he's going to win that job.
Daniel Jones, I think he can. Yes, I think he's one of those guys that. I don't. The thing about Daniel Jones is I was for Daniel Jones. I wanted them to draft him. He's the kind of guy, like I said earlier in the broadcast, clicked all the dials for me when he was at Duke, because the fact of the matter is Duke was only as good as he was going to be. The question with Jones is his health always overall, and can the offensive coordinator invent a system around him that he's good at? In watching Daniel Jones for years, outside of the fact that he has better speed than expected, I don't know the one thing he does right. Like when I watched Eli Manning with the Giants for years, Eli I thought was one of the best downfield play action passers I ever saw. He threw the deep ball extremely well. He did the fake well, but he was a shitty screen passer. The screen pass would always go off the running back's shoulder pads, get intercepted or stuff. And so it was like, okay, just don't call screen passes. Daniel Jones, even after watching him for 4 or 5 years, I don't know what he does well.
Yeah. Well, the good news is he's played. He's had moments. He took a team to the playoffs, and I think he's better than Anthony Richardson. And the Colts have a decent team. The only issue that they've really struggled at is quarterback. If they can get Jonathan Taylor back healthy, they get maybe Quentin Nelson's got something left, but then they got Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, all those guys around him. I think this could be an environment, especially now with Tyler Warren, where he could flourish. So I'm looking to see that. A team that I actually can't believe I'm saying this, but one of my winners is actually the Carolina Panthers. And I don't know why I like this draft, but for some reason I kind of do. McMillan was the best receiver I had. I thought he was,
Agreed.
Ibuka was, with a Buckeye, and I love him, and he's great, and I think he's going to do really good things with the Buccaneers. But McMillan was just that guy that can be different. I think he's a guy that can really just, be the factor that makes a team better. He's a guy that can take Bryce Young from shitty to good because he can win one-on-ones. He's fast. He's got great hands. I thought he was the best receiver in the draft. So you go out, you get the best receiver in the draft. You come back and you get two edge players who both have showed promise. One, Nick Scorton from A&M. I liked him way better than Stewart. He actually had some production. He's got powerful hands. He's got some moves. He's got some quicks. I liked him. And then also Princely. I'm going to kill this name, but Amuma Malilan, the guy from played for Florida and was very productive. He was so productive at Florida that, the coach at Ole Miss, our boy Lane Kiffin, opened up the coffers and gave him a shit ton of cash to come to Ole Miss. So I like getting both of those guys. And then I really love Trevor Etienne. He was one of my favorite running backs in this draft. Georgia was different when he was on the field. Florida was different when he was on the field. So I like him. And then Latham Ransom and Jimmy Horn Jr., two guys that got picked late that both can maybe produce some. James, am I crazy to like the Panthers draft?
You're not. And honestly, I never, until I started looking at the whole thing, I'm like, the more I looked at it, the more I like it, like a lot. Like it solves a lot of problems, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, McMillan and Horn really help out a lot. Trevor Etienne, more depth with Chuba Hubbard. I like Ransom, and look at the edge guys. Like Princely, when I heard his weight room output, like they had him on NFL Network dropping 700 pounds on a squat. I'm like, Oh my freaking God. That is insane.
He's a beast, dude. I've watched him bull rush and just take left tackles and drive them back into the quarterback for years in the SEC. And that's, playing against some pretty damn good offensive tackles. He did it when he was at Florida. He did it when he was at Ole Miss. And I like him, and getting him where they did makes it even more of a value. So, and McMillan to me just really stuck out as a guy that did it, as far as showing the production and a game that will translate. I don't know about teams, but I got a couple other picks here that stood out to me that I actually liked. And one was, I didn't really love Howie Roseman's the best GM in football, in my opinion, but I didn't love their draft, but I did like the Jahad Campbell pick. He makes that defense better. Joe, you've seen the Eagles defense up close and personal. You take a guy like Jahad Campbell, who probably was a top 15 player, only fell because of the medical. You add him to it. Can that defense improve, Joe? Is that even possible?
Well, and how much improvement do they need? But the fact of the matter is, it's right now they're just filling gaps. They've got a young team in position to be on top of the NFC East for the next 3, 4, 5 years, depending. And like you said, Howie Roseman knows how to make the choices. So yeah, it's a great pick. It's something he doesn't have to rush himself back from the medical to be there.
Yeah,
you can work with him and get him when he's healthy. You unleash him on the league.
Yeah,
you saw how they used Reddick a couple of years ago. I mean, how well that worked out and things like that. So
no, I agree.
It's the thing is like it's like when the Patriots were on top. We're in the drafts when they were winning championships. You sat there and go, "Oh my God!" No, but they picked a solid player that they knew they needed to plug into that one spot they felt weak about, and that's where they go with.
Yep. No, I like Jahad Campbell, and I think he just looks like a badass. I mean, look at him. I wouldn't want that guy tackling my ass. that'd be the end of me. So I like adding him to it. And like Joe said, I like the fact that you don't have to play him on day one if he's not ready to go. He can learn from Nakobe Dean and all the other guys that are good. But the best thing I like about him, James, is that he can play on the edge. He can play linebacker. He can do anything you need. He's actually not horrible in coverage, even though he's a mammoth man. And James, I want to get your thoughts on one more pick here. Obviously, I got to talk about the Buckeyes, but I'm not really just talking about this because I'm a Buckeye fan. I thought the Chiefs, watch the Super Bowl. What was the problem? They couldn't block anybody from the Eagles. They went out and got Simmons. I mean, I like Simmons. I think he got so much better from when he transferred from San Diego State to Ohio State. Right away, I wasn't 100% sold on him, but the improvement that I saw from year 1 to year 2 was pretty amazing. James, what do you think about him? And do you think this could maybe be the guy that solves their problem at left tackle? Because they've been throwing dudes at it for a couple of years now, and nothing's worked.
Yeah, I mean, the hard part about that offense, though, is how much Mahomes gets out of the pocket so quick. And I think Simmons is going to have a hard time just trying to understand the relationship he is with his quarterback, because if the quarterback's outside your hip, and you don't know about it, it really, you're going to fall prey to a holding call left and right. Honestly, I look at Kansas City's draft. I like the Jalen Royals pick out of Utah State in the 4th, and the Bossa, the linebacker out of Oregon. I'm kind of shocked he lasted that long. I really liked him. He was very good.
Yeah, no, me too. And Norman Lott, the D tackle out of Tennessee,
a
guy who also transferred in, wasn't like a world beater, but is a solid guy that can go out there and get some snaps for you probably right away, just because he's played so much football in college. And he definitely improved the Tennessee D-line. So I did like that pick as well. And usually they know what they're doing over there in Kansas City. Let's talk real quick. We're running out of time, but I do want to talk real quick about losers. We all like to talk about losers. The biggest loser, in my opinion, at least. And, James, I know you liked him a lot, and there is talent there. But to go out and take Stewart as high as they did, I think to me smells like desperation in Cincinnati. I mean, they're Hubbard retired. They're, the Hendrickson, the NFL's leader in sacks, once out of town. I know you saw the talent. I know he's got talent, but I mean, to me, it bothers me that this guy had 0 sacks the last 7 games, 3 years in a row. I know Mel Kiper said it so many times it was making me want to throw up, but it's a fact. And the guy never had more than a sack and a half. And to me, why do we think he's going to get 20 sacks in the pros when he can only get 1.5 in college? Tell me I'm wrong.
Honestly, you're not. I mean, honestly, I was going to say Cincinnati had the worst draft too as well. I mean, honestly, I it's not Stewart per se, but when you sink that much money into Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, why weren't they thinking more about that offensive line? I mean, I like what they did there, but with Stewart, is got to be the guy to take over for Hubbard now. I mean, I look at this entire draft. I think the best pick, the most solid pick, is Fairchild.
Yeah.
And I'm not even completely sold on that one. That Notre Dame game, Fairchild got freaking exposed pretty quickly. I don't know. I look at Cincinnati and Chicago. What the hell? Yeah. Like, I don't know what you're doing. Again,
I didn't like either one of their drafts, and I think both of them are potentially in trouble. And before we get out of here, Joe mentioned Steve Angeli, the quarterback from Notre Dame. After the spring game, he decides to bolt. Not really 100% sure. They said it was a 3-horse race and everybody was getting a fair shot. This is the one guy that actually had experience, and now he bolts and goes to Syracuse. Joe, I'll get your opinion first. What did you think about hearing him taking off and going to Syracuse? You're a Notre Dame guy.
Disappointment. I mean, I don't know much about CJ Carr, and I don't know much about the other quarterback. But like I said, in Jelly, I've seen him in game action, and he seems to be ready for prime time. I was hoping to finally see in the Marcus Freeman era a little stability at quarterback, because I think that's basically, I think with the Irish need is to get some stability. I don't know. Now you've got two inexperienced quarterbacks you're going to go with this year. How is that going to help you coming off a great year you had last year? I was a little confused. You and I were talking a couple weeks ago. I was thinking that he may look at BC because of Bill O'Brien, and he seems to fit the Bill O'Brien cast of quarterbacks. But I guess after what happened with McCord last year, that Syracuse, you guys know better than me. Syracuse is a good place to go, get your reputation back on track. But I mean, the kid had no reputation. They never gave him a chance. They never really gave him a chance.
I liked his reputation. I thought he was going to be the guy, and he came in cold in that semifinal game and threw a touchdown and looked better than Riley Leonard, in my opinion, at times. So I didn't really get that. What about lastly? Nico is finally, I guess, going to stay at UCLA. James, can tell me what is UCLA going to get better? I mean, I guess he's an upgraded quarterback, but I mean, talk to me here.
In the Big Ten, I mean, who the hell is he going to throw to? I mean,
I don't know.
I look at this and I'm like, hope you like 4-8.
Yeah, they were 5-7 last year, and a lot of their good players are gone, either via transfer or like Schlesinger, the linebacker, get drafted. So. I think Carson Schlesinger going to the Browns. I actually kind of like the Browns picks, except for the quarterbacks they took. Mason Graham, Schlesinger, Judkins, Harold Fannin, the tight end out of Bowling Green, and Dylan Sampson, the running back out of Tennessee. If they could just get rid of Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, I actually liked what the Browns did. But, I don't know about UCLA. And Nico, I think he's actually not a bad quarterback, but not the team that I would have gone to if I was trying to get into the NFL, right?
All right, let me ask you guys a question before we get off the air here. I mean, your both opinions on this. Name me the one team that you watched after this draft that you think could be the surprise team with what they had already on their team and what they grabbed over the weekend. What team do you think can make the biggest impact? Because I'm looking at the Giants going, the Giants look great, but the fact of the matter is I don't see the Giants jumping over Washington and the Eagles.
Yeah, or Eagles. Yeah, no, I'll give you mine real quick, James. I'll let you think for a second because then we got to get out of here. We're over the limit here. I've got the Falcons. The Falcons, the one thing they've been not having for years since John Abraham was there was a pass rusher. They can't get off the field on third down. They can't disrupt what the other team is doing at quarterback. And they went out and got two of them in Jalon Walker from Georgia and then James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. Everyone was talking about edge rushers. Both those guys were in the list for me and you, James, and several other people as, two of the guys that were the top 5, maybe top 10, depending on who you were talking to, pass rushers in the whole draft. And they got both of them. So I think that Atlanta helped himself there. What do you got?
I would have to go with the Colts. Honestly, I look at Warren. It's going to provide a little bit less pressure on Jonathan Taylor, especially after you lost Freeze and Kelly in free agency to Minnesota on that offensive line. I'd have to go with Indianapolis right now. I think could have the biggest jump.
Yeah, I like it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in. We will be back Thursday with Safety and the Sports Writer. We'll be back with man coverage on Sunday next week. And, good luck to the Cleveland Browns. And we'll be watching that quarterback battle pretty intently, honestly, because it's going to be interesting to see, who gets to play and, what kind of shit show is surrounding the practice every day, because there's already a shit show in Cleveland and now it's going to be amplified times 10. So we'll see what happens there. But thanks to everybody for tuning in. Go to SeatGeek.com, get your tickets, enter in promo code NSS.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, National Hockey League Conference playoffs, and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.